Hello, you wonderful people. So for today's video, I just want to talk about my thoughts about the recently released Avengers Infinity War trailer, which is so awesome. Like right off the bat, the movie's already, like this trailer already sets a tone of like, yeah, things are about to get extremely messy. I think out of any Marvel movie that happened up to this point, this is probably like the most dire of them, because this is a situation, because everyone knows going into this movie that this will be the movie where characters that you've come to know will start dropping. I mean, because ultimately that is a question that's on everybody's mind, is like, what characters are not safe? Obviously, like top of the list is Captain America, possibly Iron Man 2. I think that'd be kind of interesting if they did take out Tony, because especially because amongst it, well, especially because like you'd be taking out the two heads of this. Also, when you think about it from the MCU perspective, like Iron Man was the start of all of this, so it'd be kind of interesting if like he was kind of taken out the picture. I do know that in certain continuities, I don't know if it's, I think it's a more recent thing in the comic books where someone has replaced Tony as Iron Man. I'm not familiar with her name. I'm not sure whether it's like she became the definitive Iron Man now, kind of like the whole X-23 and Wolverine situation, where it's like, oh, she's not female Wolverine, she's just Wolverine, she's taking that mantle, that's her name, that's who she is now. So I don't know if it's a similar situation or whether she's kind of her own version where she has like, you know, like how War Machine is War Machine, so maybe she's something like that. But I think she is taking over as Iron Man. And like, I don't, once again, asterisk, I don't know comic books like that. I know what I know from all the Marvel movies I've watched, a little bit of information I've picked up from my own research, as well as hearing other people, you know, discussing the subject. So, but I think it'd also be interesting too, because there's also the Spider-Man element to it as well, because Tony's the one that kind of brought, he brought Peter into this world in a sense of training him and kind of being that mentor of like kind of welcoming him into this whole hero world. I mean, obviously you can be like, well, quote unquote welcoming him, especially with everything that went down at Homecoming. It's not like he was 100% there for Peter during that whole process. Peter kind of had to do kind of a lot of that by himself. That's obviously that's that. But I'm thinking it would probably, out of anyone, that's the person in the MCU I feel like Peter's the closest to amongst all the heroes that could potentially die in this situation. So I don't know, that's kind of, I just think that's kind of fascinating. There's also the Vision situation, because it's like, well, you even see it in the trailer, like it's about to get ripped out of his head. But someone else pointed out, like if you look at it later on, like Thanos doesn't have the yellow gem later on. I'm just going to refer to them as the colors, because I'm not that familiar with the Infinity Stones and like what each one, I know some of their names, but I don't remember which gem is which stone, which power is associated with which stone. But nevertheless, I don't know, it might be a situation where Vision gets it ripped out, but ultimately what ends up happening is that he ends up coming back as in some other shape or form. I'm curious to see what they do with that character, especially because they haven't really 100% dived into Vision since his creation in Age of Ultron. He has moments in Civil War, but even then it's just like we haven't really gotten a lot of time with him, so I don't know if they'd be really willing to kill off a character. I mean, that might be it. It might be like, yeah, we're setting him up literally just to kill him all. Well, I mean, I guess technically he has been around a while, because previous to being Vision, he was Jarvis, so there's that. But obviously you have certain characters like obviously Spider-Man and Black Panther, who I'm pretty sure are going to be safe. I am curious to see what they do with Winter Soldier. I think it might be a situation like, oh, we're going to set him up to replace Steve as Captain America. I mean, it makes sense, as you know, Bucky being his best friend and everything. Of course, I mean, to be fair, it's also interesting to see whether they'll do that, or because I know in like more recent continuity, it's one of those other things I know that Sam Falcon has become Captain America as well. So I don't know, I feel like probably more likely the Bucky situation, but I mean, I don't know, like this is, I mean, this isn't like directly compared to the comic books. This is kind of its own thing as well. It pulls from the comic books, but it's its own thing. So who's to say that ultimately won't end with them like doing, they'll probably throw a few surprises in there as well. I don't think it's going to be 100% what people expect, and that's what makes this whole situation so exciting. I kind of throw Drax in there too. I just get the feeling, because he's the one most motivated for wanting to kill Thanos. So, but like what this movie represents, I think it's so awesome. Just, and all, like I said, just it sets the tone already, and it's just already the thought of like, oh, you have these characters who have never met crossing paths. You have Tony and Doctor Strange meeting, and it's that feeling that I think you haven't gotten since like you're re-getting it in the Avengers movies, which you also got it in Civil War, but obviously there were different people on different sides fighting against each other. This time you have all your heroes coming together across all these movies coming to face this one threat, and I'm so interested to see like not only how they handle it, because I think everyone's got their mindset of like Infinity War is just going to be Thanos kicking ass, like nobody's going to be able to stop him, and then the second movie, whatever it is, Avengers 4, whatever its title ultimately becomes, that's going to be the one to kind of do the counterattack. But it's like, especially by that point, if he has all the Infinity Stones, which I'm assuming that's probably going to be how the like Infinity War plays. I mean, to be fair, we've seen like small out of context sections. So what kind of throws me for a loop is the fact is that Peter is one of the people fighting him. It's just like, wow, you're kind of like the newbie in this whole situation, and you're just like jumping head first and taking one of like the most galactic level bad guys in existence. I just think that's crazy. Also in a new suit too, which I appreciate. I thought it was kind of interesting that he is kind of like a big part of the trailer. Also, I love the fact that his hair's come up with the whole Spidey sense, which kind of got me thinking, like, I don't remember, because it's been a little while since I've seen Civil War, and I don't remember it really coming up too much in Homecoming, but has his spider sense been, like, introduced? I mean, it has to, because it's, like, it's part of, like, his go-to arsenal. It's like, you get Spider-Man, you get the Spidey sense. I mean, I think it's just because, for me, it's like, it's something you don't really see get represented. It doesn't have a proper representation in movies. Not like, because it's hard to represent that. Like, you can't do it like you can in a comic book or a video game or a cartoon. It's always like those little lightning bolts above his head. It's like, oh, danger nearby, you know? So, I mean, even like in Spider-Man games, they use that as kind of part of the counter system. I know that's me getting like too like in depth on that, but it's just, I don't know, it's just kind of an interesting thing. Like, I don't remember, it probably was there, it's just I don't remember it as clearly. If you do, let me know, because I really don't remember like his spider sense popping up, but I'm sure it's there. It had to be there. Just part of Spider-Man's thing, you know? And since I brought it up earlier, the whole conversation of like, well, characters are gonna die and everything, it did kind of bring up something interesting that was kind of in the back of my mind. Where does the character Death, like, you know, pop up in all of this? Like, obviously, if you don't know, Death in the Marvel universe is personified as a lady, and I don't know if this is how she always looks, but in the Deadpool video game, like, that's my go-to thought of what she looks like. I don't know if that's how she looks like all across the board, or at least most times, or whether that's like a more recent adaptation of her, but nevertheless, that, because the reason why I bring her up is because she and Thanos kind of, there's a kind of a love triangle situation. It's kind of one of the few comic book things I know that basically Thanos, Death, and Deadpool are in this kind of love triangle situation where like everything he does to impress her. So I don't know whether she's going to pop up in maybe a form like that, or maybe it's just like, well, when characters die she pops up or something like that. Once again, like I said, that also comes down to who owns the rights to her. I would assume Marvel does, because she pops up in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, so I kind of would assume that, which I don't know if they do anything like that. It'd be kind of neat. Once again, this is coming from me not having read too much about anything, just because I want to be surprised with a lot of stuff, so that'd be kind of interesting though. I mean, to be fair too, there's also the side of me that's like, well, I kind of want that to be in Fox too, just so it could have that whole like Deadpool and Death situation going on, that flirtatious relationship. But then I'm like, I don't know. I mean, ultimately, there's so many different thoughts and possibilities about that. So I'm so curious to see what they do. I think a big concern a lot of people have when it comes to this movie is like, is it going to be too much? Is there going to be enough time and room to give every character their moment? I think they'll nail it. Like, I know a lot of people like to me, Civil War, hands down, is probably one of my favorite movies. It's not even just the action-y bits, it's just the fact is that everything that has happened in the MCU movies led to everything happening in Civil War. And I love that confrontation, that just the fact is that pitting allies against each other, and now it's like everything is leading to the events of Infinity War. And I just love that a culmination, because once again, you're getting all these people that you've come to know, you know, and seeing them all together and interacting with each other. Literally seeing Thor talk to the Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't know why I put a plural on that, but it's so awesome. The ones behind this are the Russo brothers, who also did Civil War, and it's like they did an amazing job with that, so I have 100% faith in them to handle this as well. I know it's a little scary to think about, like, oh, maybe it'll be too much. I mean, but I think I trust them to handle it. There was also the whole situation of like, oh, is it too much CGI and stuff like that? This is coming from someone who's not that well knowledgeable about movies, how they're made, like the whole movie magic. I don't care to know about it because I feel like it will ruin the movie magic in my eyes. But nevertheless, I feel like there has to be a lot of CGI for this because it's like you're literally turning a comic book into real life, and I don't know. I don't know if you could go all practical with that, like in certain regards. I feel like you have to go heavy CGI to make sure everything kind of clicks, everything pops, everything kind of, you know, that the vision 100% comes true. I mean, at least that's my perspective on the whole situation. Like I said, overall, those are just like, I know I'm more so focusing on just like random thoughts connected to Infinity War rather than the trailer itself, but it's just I'm so excited. Also note, at the time of me recording this, I have not seen Thor Ragnarok yet, so it is the only movie at this point in time that I have not seen yet. Interestingly enough though, it's also a little weird to me because it's like Infinity War is right there, but it's like, all right, we still also have Black Panther, which I'm super excited for too. But I guess that also shows you like how much of a slightly smaller scale what goes out in Black Panther will be, just because it's like, and then you lead up to Infinity War after that. Because Black Panther comes out in February, but I guess it's just kind of like, it's supposed to like, I mean, because I think this is going to be our, yeah, it's definitely our first, I mean, we got a peek into Wakanda a little bit at the end of Civil War, but this is going to be our first time like really being there, getting to kind of see that world fully flushed out. Well, I say world, but country, but still, you get what I mean. I almost completely forgot about the fact is that like, oh yeah, like we didn't see like Ant-Man or Wasp or Hawkeye, if I'm remembering correctly in the trailer. So I mean, we haven't got completely seen, like, obviously this, like I said, this is a beginning trailer, so we haven't seen everything and everybody in it. So I'm curious to see what roles everyone plays, in particular because like, I think I haven't looked at it, but this is just me hearing from people. I think the Ant-Man and Wasp movie is in between Infinity War and then Avengers 4. So I'm wondering like how, once again, it's that situation. I think it's going to be a smaller scale movie that's going to be set up for the future movie. So I don't know. Like I said, overall, I'm very excited to see how this all plays out. Whole MCU, because especially what this means going forward, because I'm always hearing conflicted things. Is this the beginning of Phase 4 or is this the end of Phase 4? Is this like Phase 4 and then the end, or what? I'm also curious to see like what this means going forward too. Like, you know, it's something I think I've thrown out there before because of Doctor Strange. It really pushed more on the whole like, oh, other dimensions and stuff like that. So when we start tackling more like other Earths type of things, like Homecoming set up certain people, obviously I won't say who, but there's one character in particular that I'm like, comic book wise, Peter's crossed paths with this character, but it was in a situation like they went to a different dimension. The cross paths with this character, I'll just go ahead and say it, like Miles Morales. Like, could you be setting up like more Earths in the future, like, you know, different dimensions type of thing? I don't know if that's gonna be something that they do going forward. Like, I'm very interested to see like what happens in these movies, as well as just like what it means going forward. I mean, it's crazy to think about how far these movies have grown, have gone, and how much of this universe has been built, and it's just seeing everything come to this climax is, I mean, it's not even a conclusion until like the 4th Avengers movie comes out, then it'll be the conclusion, but you get what I mean, right? This is like the beginning of the pseudo end, and I'm just so fascinated to kind of see what they do going forward. I'm going to try avoid watching any trailers. Like, I typically only watch like one trailer because I don't want to know too much going into any movie. So there's a whole situation. So like I said, I'm so excited to see what goes on from here. Obviously, there are a lot of people on the internet who've taken time to break down stuff. Maybe people watching this might be one of those said people. Like, let me know what you thought about the trailers. What are your thoughts about like what this all means? Who might die? Who will survive? Let me know all your thoughts about everything related to Infinity Wars, especially if you're more familiar with comic books. I love to kind of get your perspective on it from like someone who's watched all the movies as well as, you know, read the comic books as well. Kind of an interesting thing too. Like, this is a type of thing that you can't miss a movie for, because this is like, if you miss a movie, you won't know who some of the characters are, and you'll kind of leave you a little lost because you're like, okay, I don't get the dynamic between these certain people. So it's just kind of an interesting thought. Like, this is a movie that you can't just go, oh yeah, I've seen a couple of the Marvel movies, I didn't feel like watching the rest, so I just jumped to this one. It's like, you can't do that. You'll be completely lost and the movie will just kind of fall flat for you. It's like, no, this movie was built upon everything that's happened so far. So it's such a rare breed of its own that just makes it so fascinating. that's the end of it. That's all I really want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and good